Someone wants to know something very personal. Who are you? Where'd you go to school? Who or what has influenced your professional activity? What is most important to you as a scholar? Good questions. Who am I? I'm a priest, a member of a religious order called the Society of Jesus. I'm a theologian, a preacher. What? Where did I go to school? I grew up in New York City, in Manhattan. Went to a parochial school. Was very much influenced by the diocesan priests in the parish. Then went to Xavier High School, a Jesuit high school in New York City. And from that moment, I was captured. I liked what I saw in the Jesuits. They seemed so much more brilliant than they could possibly have been. They played handball and basketball with us. They're very human. That influenced me a great deal. So I did become a Jesuit and went through the regular course, which is rather long. In those days, many moons ago, most of us entered right after high school, and it was ordinarily a 13-year program before ordination. Cardinal Sheehan in Baltimore used to say, ordination is the reward for a Jesuit of a life well spent. Anyway, I got very interested in the early part of my Jesuit course by reading 7 letters that were written by a bishop in the early part of the 2nd century, Ignatius of Antioch. On his way to martyrdom in the Colosseum in Rome, he wrote 7 letters to different Christian communities, begging them not to interfere, not to use their influence with authorities to keep him from suffering and dying for Jesus. That got me started on what we call the Fathers of the Church, the early Christian theologians, those who began the effort to understand what the Bible is trying to tell us. So I was concentrating on the first 6 or 7 centuries during much of my life. Now, in these last 7 or 8 years, I started a program of my own. I call it Preaching the Just Word. It's an effort to improve the preaching of justice issues across the country. We do it by 5-day retreat workshops, a combination of spirituality and information. And we've had 75 of these, most parts of the United States, but also in Jamaica, Canada, Australia. What is most important to me as a scholar? It's the search, the quest for understanding, for new knowledge. It's a search. Like theology. Theology is not primarily an abstract science. Theology is a searing search for what? For God and for humans. Who are they? What do they mean? What's the relationship between them? And the search is searing. It takes much of out of us, intellectually, emotionally, because the search is so complex. It's so unnerving at times, because it's not just getting an idea and thinking about it. I have to go back in history. I have to go back to Judaism. I have to see the different communities as they develop under God's inspiration. I have to go back to the beginning of Christianity. How did it happen? What did God have in mind for us? So, the reason why my professional activity, theology, is most important to me as a scholar is because it's the quest for what we have defined as religion. What is it? How do I relate to God? It's difficult because it takes in history, philosophy, theology, sociology, many of the sciences. And it's important to me because this defines me as a person. The person in quest of truth, of reality, of God, of the human person.